Nicole. Um, Thanks everyone for taking the time to be here. I know that we are right at the end of everybody's like busy time with semesters and closing out things with your students. So definitely appreciate you all giving us an hour of your time to come together with the group. So this is officially we're calling it our last Pro Devo session for the 21-22 academic year. We will have some stuff going on into the summer, but just realizing as well that everybody's schedules change depending on your campus and your position as support specialist. But we're really excited today because we have really been hearing feedback from all of you like throughout the last semester, and we've definitely had some returners who've been here and some newer support specialists who've come in the last year to few months. And we really sort of identified the need that like, although like we as growth sector, like meet with our support specialists and provide like support and training, it never hurts to sort of revisit what the student support specialist role is. We realize, and you all know too, how big this position actually is in terms of from day to day, it changes from your focus in terms of students to internships and all things in between. So we thought this would be a great time to sort of like revisit back to basics, what the role is and just like how we can sort of support and work with all of you. I do want to really quickly before we get into like the meat of today's conversation, just welcome. We have a few new support specialists on the line, so I want to acknowledge that and say welcome to all of you who are here. I see, well, I want to give you all a chance to introduce yourself. So I see Felipe, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm the new student services coordinator with San Antonio College. Santa Ana College. Sorry. Yeah, I work with Myra. I do the same work as her, but with the computer division in place of the engineering program.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the group. Nicole.
Hi, sorry, I didn't hear. I had someone come to my door and sorry, it's been a bit hectic this morning. Good morning, everyone. Are we introducing ourselves?
Yeah, just for our newest support specialist, which i.e. you.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Nicole Banks, and I'm the retention specialist, the support specialist over at Skyline Center for STEM. So it's very nice to be here and meet with you all. This is my 6th week in the job.
Awesome. Welcome, Nicole. We're so happy to have you here. And I see Raina here, and Cammie's also here, who turned on her camera. So hopefully we can get an intro. Hi, Raina.
Hi, I'm Raina. I am a student specialist support at the Community College of Baltimore County, and Cammie's my supervisor.
Awesome. So happy to have so many new faces here. For our returners who all know each other, maybe if you can put your name, campus, and title in the chat, just because I know that intros can take a little bit of time, so we can keep things moving. But so happy to have all of our newbies here, and I will be following up with each of you after this, just to touch base going forward. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Cheryl Martinez. With Growth Sector. I'm the program manager and work closely with all of our support specialists. So to get into the bulk of today's session, Myra has done such a great job really sort of putting this presentation together and sort of really taking a deeper look into the support specialist role. So we're hoping that this is a conversation today, but we definitely have some slides and some resources that we want to share with all of you. So I'm going to push it over to Myra. Thanks, Myra.
Of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Myra Perez, and I'm a student services coordinator over at Santa Ana College. And I also tag team with Growth Sector as a program admin assistant. I forgot what my title is. But yeah, we put together this workshop for you after kind of just hearing about questions you all have about the support specialist role, kind of wrapping your head, especially starting off in this position, because it can be a lot. As Cheryl said, this really is made to also be a conversation starter. And so we'll throughout the workshop be ad-libbing and also just asking for your input as well. So without further ado, and disclaimer, I apologize for all the chirping birds and if you hear a random dog bark, I'm stuck outside while my honey takes a final, so inside the house. But let's see. Okay, let me put this in present mode. All right, everyone can see? Awesome. Okay. So, and just to quickly go over what the agenda is for today, we're gonna really go into the nitty gritty of what the student support specialist role is, talking about laying the foundation once you have the green light to start the program on your campus, what planning your semester looks like, the recruitment process, getting access to and getting your tools ready, and then continued membership of STEM core students. So this is straight from our actual, I don't know if every campus has it, Cheryl. I don't know, but basically it's straight from kind of like our guidebook, our handbook of what the student support specialist role is. And, you know, I find myself sometimes going back to this and kind of really looking, because again, sometimes it's pretty crazy to think about all the different things and moving parts that we are responsible for doing. But in essence, the student support specialist role, we're here to help students in STEM core be successful both academically and vocationally. We support students directly by sitting in on classes. I'm so sorry. Sitting in on classes, facilitating study skills workshops, meeting individually with students, which we call one-on-ones, helping them attain high-level industry internships. Cheryl, you want to add anything on that or no?
Yep, no, you're good, I think.
Awesome. Another huge component of our role is providing that wraparound student support. This is really crucial, especially for getting our STEM students down their academic pathway, because as we know, being a STEM major, it's pretty hardcore. They take intense courses and it's a lot. So providing that, again, wraparound student support. This can be in essence done by addressing challenges inside and outside of the school. So helping them develop successful study habits, communicating, working individually with faculty, attaining work experience, transfer prep, financial aid assistance. And then also a big bulk of it too is knowing your campus and knowing what kind of resources there are. So that way, when a student comes to you and is like, you know what, I find that I'm really dealing with some like testing anxiety or whatever it may be, you can you may not know exactly what the next steps are, but you can at least direct them to your campus resources like, you know, DSPS and stuff like that. Another part is working with faculty and project partners to deliver high quality and engaging program orientations before fall and spring semesters in order to build that cohort community. I think a really neat aspect of the STEM core program is that I always like to tell our students, like, this is a community of STEM students. It's a place where you're going to find other students who are in the same boat as you, facing the same challenges as you. So really take this opportunity of being in this program to be part of this STEM community. So by making sure to create an orientation before the start of your semesters really can help in just starting that foundation of the community. And also this is a great opportunity to introduce faculty and partners and implement study skill development.
I would just also like to note that like the role is called different things on different campuses. Like we've heard from like retention specialists, support specialists. We're all doing very much similar and like a lot of like the same work. Some of us are not sitting in classes as much. Some of us are full-time versus part-time. So also recognizing that as well, but generally overall the same goals. And I would just like to add on when we talk about like building the community aspect, like that starts from like right now, because we're all deep and heavy in recruitment mode. So we say it's a program, we say it's an important program, we say it's a special program, students believe it's an important special program, and that trend continues on as we bring our cohorts together. So recognizing like the program is what we make it, and the program is like what you call it on your campus. So remembering like how you lead your students is what the trend that you set.
Exactly. A couple more bullet points. So again, as Cheryl had said, different campuses, different support specialists, hours, whether you're part-time, full-time, it all depends. But in essence, even if you can't sit through like a full class, checking in on them, checking that they're attending their classes, all that good stuff, jumping in on those things is always a good plan. So that's why we have here: attend most class sessions in order to monitor student attendance, course content, student achievement, and maintain a handle on concepts taught in class to liaise with program tutors. I find that's a very, very important thing. I personally, because of every little thing that I got going on, my time sitting in the class has been cut up by a lot. But I always make sure to check in. I take attendance. They see me whether it be like at the beginning. No, it's usually at the beginning. I never go to at the end of class, but they always see me there at the beginning. But also making sure to communicate with your STEM faculty, and then relaying that information to, if you have like supplemental instruction, or AKA the math tutors, relaying that information. In my program, our math tutors used to be in the class with our students. Now it's very different. I don't have the opportunity to have our tutor in the math class, so they're completely separate. I make sure to collect like the class syllabus and any class notes that the professor has and pass it along to the tutor. I randomly check in with the math professors or engineering professors, and I check, hey, are there certain things that you want to make sure that our students are touching upon in the tutoring sessions? And that's the information that we relay. So you're really kind of like the middle liaison person. Another thing is maintaining detailed tracking records of students' progress, grades, GPA, internship availability, etc., and share with necessary faculty and program partners. Oversight of project activities, including maintaining and recruiting 25 to 30-ish students in the cohort. Obviously, those numbers fluctuate, but I would say that's always kind of like a good goal to have. Coordinate regular meetings between faculty in the cohort to discuss curriculum, individual students, and enrichment programming. And then coordinating math tutoring sessions and keeping the tutors notified of current concepts covered in class and specific individuals needing additional assistance. Mm-hmm. Cheryl, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, it's so like, I see so many of you doing an amazing job with just your organization as a whole. Like the support specialist role, like our primary role is connecting with students and like building those relationships, but the role is so heavily grounded like in administrative parts of this as well, and just like the overall organization. Like I see Cinnamon nodding along, like you've done a great job. I always call out Ezra Renee, like appreciate you. And I see so many of all of you like doing a great job of figuring out, like putting those really steps in place so that you're not doing catch up on the tail end. So like if you are knowing that you're going to connect with your faculty twice a month to check in on if there are any students who are falling behind, that way when you have your one-on-one the week afterwards, like you know exactly what's going on. And those parts are really important, and sort of make sure that the program has more structure, but also make sure that students aren't falling between the cracks, especially for those of us who maybe are not full-time 40 hours. So just making sure that you're doing that work so that at the end of the semester, we don't suddenly have students who suddenly are barely passing with a D in the class, and we didn't know that all along, right? So just making sure that you're staying on top of it. And our faculty might not always make that the easiest for us, but just figuring out ways, whether it's like a drop-in at the class, if it's a structured meeting that you're having, an email that they send you every so often with just like progress updates of your students, but figuring out and having that communication is definitely really key.
And also, I mean, part of, you know, all the admin work also that we do and keeping track and data and all that good stuff. It's always just really good to make sure you have it organized and ready to roll. So, you know, if higher ups come asking, hey, I need the data for this and this, or you get called into a meeting with the VP or something and they want to know about your program, boom, you have kind of like stats and data ready. And
or you're turning in academic tracking.
Or you're turning in academic tracking. Very, very important. So make your life easier by, you know, staying on top of those things, because it can be a lot, but it's definitely worthwhile to have organized, because again, having it basically at at a moment's notice ready, it'll just save a lot of headaches. All right. A little more on the student support specialist role. You want to make sure you meet with each STEM course student individually at, once a month to assess programs, relay information from professors, and make necessary referrals. Again, that'll look different for every campus. Sometimes it also depends even on the month. Some months are crazy and you can't even meet with students, but just make sure that you do keep the connection. Again, I always tell students, my goal is always at least a couple times a semester to meet with you, checking in, whether it be a quick check-in or the more formal, what I call the one-on-one check-ins. But just making sure to keep tabs on your students, seeing how they're doing. Organize and facilitate study skills workshops as needed, covering topics such as time management, stress reduction, resume writing. As you know, the STEM resume writing workshop is a huge one that you want to make sure that you hit for your fall semesters, because as you've seen, we tend to open up that summer internship application in, I think it's like October. So you want to make sure that you are on top of having some sort of resume writing workshop early on. So that way, after you conduct your workshop, you still have time to meet, one-on-one with students if they need assistance with their resume. So that way, when we have that call for applications and resumes from your students, you can easily turn them in without a problem. Oh, did you want to say something, Cheryl? No?
No, you're good. Oh.
Okay, sorry. And then liaise with college admin, math department, other program partners to ensure proper course delivery, tutoring, planning for future semesters, and academic counseling services are being provided. This is a big one. Even though I feel like for most of a student support specialist, it feels kind of like a one man, one woman show type of thing. We're very much a lot of times on our own running the whole program. Very, very important to stay connected with your admin, whether that be your division dean, your STEM faculty. If you have the access to having a academic counselor, that's a huge part too, because one, you want to know that you have the support from them. Two, being able to plan accordingly for every semester. I know over at our campus, we try to plan a couple semesters out. And even though changes may come, like we kind of already have like a forecast of what courses we're planning to offer and whatnot. Knowing any sort of changes, is there the possibility of adding a neat, hands-on engineering skills course or something of the sort. But making sure to really connect with your faculty and deans, that's a huge part too, because they're obviously, when you have the support or are just in touch and are all on the same page, it can make your life easier as well. And then plan and facilitate other enrichment opportunities, including field trips, graduations, career panels, speaker series, industry site visits, all that good stuff. So you want to make sure you have that ready to roll, and then create and distribute all program marketing materials, including flyers, applications, etc. Cheryl, go for it.
I see a hand, Becca. I want to make sure to.
I was wondering about the third bullet point. It says ensure proper course delivery. What does that mean?
Well, I think in that context, it's more when we talk about like what our STEM course students are, and Myra, I don't want to speak for you for what you've on the slide, but I think it's more in terms of being aware of like what our students are learning in the classroom. I think it's important to make sure you're connecting with your students when we talk about how are they receiving like the material. So is it possible that there is an issue with like the delivery in the classroom? Are they having issues with like how they're seeing the board, or if they're sitting in the back of the class, is the class too full and they don't have access to materials? Is there a language barrier where we've had issues like that in the past too? So I think from my perspective, it's just being in tune with what's going on in the classroom overall. So even if we're not always sitting in the classroom, having an idea of like what's going on. So is there a quiz or a test coming up? is there a trend going on with students where, like, I've had semesters where all of our students have had the same feedback about the same faculty member, right? So if one student says it, maybe. If a few students are saying it, and then I'm in the classroom and I'm noticing it too, maybe that's something that we can talk about in our next STEM core meeting, or bringing it up to like a dean or the STEM core team.
Yep, exactly. And I'll chime off of that one too. I've been dealt an interesting hand of having, back in the day, we had kind of like a set group of faculty who would lead our STEM course, our math courses. And I mean, they were awesome. They knew what our program was about. They were on board. They were like just super easy to work with. And then over like the past 2 years or so, I've had to work with some new like math faculty who have not been the easiest to work with. My students are not fans of, these particular professors. And as Cheryl said, by talking to them even talking to the tutor and saying like, this class, this professor, it's this and that. So having an understanding, like, what, sometimes certain faculty aren't maybe the best fit. And so knowing that information, or, what's going on, can help you when you have a meeting with the math department and you're trying to see who's going to be leading your math class for the next semester, or if you are able to, make a request or something. You never know. So yeah, staying on top of those type things, I think, is important, and what we kind of meant by that. Good question though. All right. So moving along from the actual role, once we kind of have that established and understood, laying your foundation. This is really a huge portion of what your program is going to look like on your campus. As we mentioned earlier, every campus is very different. Again, whether it be from support specialist hours that you're given, whether it be cohort size, whether it be even course offerings that you have, whatever it may be. But you really want to ask some important questions or be thinking about things. And these are some of the things that we think that you should definitely make sure to take some time to really think about. What STEM core classes will your campus be offering? Really finding out. And again, I think this is a more so questions that you would have to make sure to connect with your dean or your, department chairs, or the main faculty and support that you have on your campus. But yeah, what STEM core classes will your campus be offering? Are you going to be offering obviously the math core sequence? What tech or hands-on classes are you going to be offering? Is there like a engineering 101 class, or is there like a neat like workshop class that you guys can be offering? Knowing what courses you're going to be able to offer your students is a huge important one. Will you be able to provide tutoring at your campus? I know that not all campus funding is the same, right? Some campus funding, they're able to have a program counselor that's directly assigned to them. Others don't have one. But knowing these things, again, that's a huge help. Or if your campus doesn't have funding for a academic counselor, maybe you kind of putting it on your list of to do, going and checking in with the counseling division and seeing, are there maybe counselors that are more so trained or have a specialty in STEM, and kind of making that contact with them and saying, hey, is it okay if I direct my STEM core students to you? And so you kind of always have like a contact there if you're not able to have like a counselor directly assigned to your program. What are your core classes for every semester? This is a big one too, right? Knowing the sequence of your classes that you're going to offer, so you can also plan accordingly, whether it be from math or whatever. And then once you identify the classes that you're going to be able to offer every semester, you want to make sure, again, every campus works different. For example, on my campus, they don't give us a full class section to ourselves. They say, hey, we have this, let's just say, college algebra course for fall semester. We can allow you to have 20 seats, or reserve 25 seats, or reserve 15 seats. So There still might be a couple students who are not in the program taking that class, but again, I know that that specific course section, I have reserved seating. Some of your campuses might be like, no, you get a whole class section for yourself. So knowing these things, again, is really important to be able to plan accordingly. Because if you're in, for example, like my kind of situation where I know that I only have 20 reserved seats in the college algebra class, I need to make sure to keep track. So when I'm giving ad cards to students, again, knowing my numbers and how many seats I'm going to need and how many spots I have left for that class in essence. And then, yeah, oh, oops, I think I put, oh, just kidding. I already talked about the STEM counselor, but yeah, so knowing whether there'll be a STEM counselor or not. Cheryl, go for it.
I see a hand, Cami.
Oh, sorry.
If it's okay, can I talk about an experience that we had with our core classes shifting last semester?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. So we offer 2 different accelerated courses at 2 different campuses. So that's 4 different classes that students might be enrolled in as part of our requirements. And this was the first semester where enrollment was so low that we were only able to offer the upper level classes on one campus. And the way that I tried to do damage control for this was we started checking enrollment before STEM Core even got off the ground, because our classes aren't exclusive to our students. Other students can enroll in accelerated math at CCBC. And so when we saw that enrollment was dangerously low, during the recruiting conversation, I was able to say, hi, we might only have this available on one other campus. Are you able to travel there? If not, let me hook you up with the people who are in charge of the CCBC shuttle, because we have a transportation service in between. And I was able to retain students that would otherwise have dropped out of the program by being proactive about the solution for like, hey, we see this coming. We think that this class is only going to have 3 people enrolled. They're not going to let this fly. Here's how we're going to figure out a workaround. And that student was it. Only one of them ended up like staying with us out of the 3 that would have had to do that. But that student is one of our internship students. He's so excited to be in the program. And he's thanked me several times and been like, I wouldn't have known how to figure this out on my own if you had told me that I just had to make it there. So if you are noticing enrollment changing, which our school was seeing a big drop from fall to spring, it was like, to try and anticipate some of the resources that might be able to bridge those gaps, if it's helpful.
No, that's great, Cami, and like super helpful too, because I think so many of us are dealing with all of these campus changes where like we're not always in control of them, and we're working with multiple departments a lot of the time too. So like, how can we sort of like forward think in terms of how we can advocate for our students? Because sometimes it's like you said, like smaller solutions like that, where it's just like providing options to students so that they know. But like working a little bit ahead of time before we see that one section completely fills up and we can't get any of our students in. So I love that. What a great example. Thanks for sharing.
And one last thing too. Yeah, that's, again, keeping an eye on your enrollment and recruitment and your numbers for your different classes. Again, all the little different moving parts that are thrown into it, because as you know, and I'm pretty sure this is at most campuses, you know, you have to hit a certain number. And as Cami said, like you can't run a class with 3 students in it, right? So knowing like, okay, if I have only been able to recruit because the numbers, again, because I think that's at all campuses is crazy past 2 years, especially this year too. But if you know that you're on the lower end of, you know, on the lower side of having recruited for a class, you know, what are the next moves you need to do? Because if that class gets canceled, where are you going to put your kids, or what, you know, where are you going to put your students? So again, kind of making sure you're able to kind of forecast and maneuver different things, or plan A, B, C, D in case something were to happen. So that way you don't find yourself in a rut at the end, which still sometimes happens, obviously, but you know, something to keep in mind. So yeah, once you have your list of STEM core classes and other vital information figured out, share your academic semester schedule when recruiting or when students are accepted in into your program. I truly believe that showing students a schedule can help them plan out their other classes or work schedule accordingly. As we all know, a lot of community college students, they, you know, sometimes they're part-time, full-time, they may be working full-time or part-time, they might be married, have families. We have just an array. We have, you know, students who are fresh 17, 18-year-olds out of high school. We have returning students. We have a huge mix of students. And so I think that the earlier that you can prepare and provide them with information, the better off you're going to be in regards to student commitment and student accountability and showing up and all that stuff. So again, you want to just be mindful of both you and your students' time. Again, what I like to do is as soon as I get confirmation of what class sections I'm going to be able to have for, let's say, fall, I put it on and I have a couple samples here to show you next. Actually, let me go to it really quick. So for example, ours looks a little crazy, but I put it on a lovely little like flyer that I put together. I have all the information on there. And if I have that ready by the time I'm recruiting, which I always usually do, I start to share that with them like, hey, I'm going to interview you for this program. Just to give you a heads up, these are the classes for fall, making sure that you plan your other, whether it's a history class, a bio class, whatever, plan your other classes accordingly. Make sure you leave space in your schedule for XYZ classes. Again, it just helps them to have a visual and plan accordingly.
It's funny because I'm guilty of this like the same way too, is we like live and breathe like STEM core, right? Like for most of us, this is like our full-time job or like at least like half of it, right? But also recognizing that it's not the case for most of our students and they're taking other classes. So the more that we can give them the information on the front end, the better in terms of planning. And same deal with like, as we talk about like workshop schedules, or as much as we can give them is definitely helpful. And oftentimes, like, especially with workshop schedules, we don't have all of the information sometimes right during your orientation, but even giving students like a heads up saying like, most of our programming is going to be on Fridays at 10 a.m. So try to keep those open. Or this course is what we're doing right now, but TBD, but it's going to be around this time frame. So as much as we can on the front end, especially because we're, for the most part, starting recruitment pretty early on in like March. So maybe everything's not finalized, but giving as much of that information as possible. And on the back end, that allows us to be able to keep our students accountable at the same time too, because it's like you had this information before. So it's either the communication piece, if something needs to change, or just like letting us know in general, like what is going on and this can fit, this can't fit.
Exactly. So once we have the whole courses kind of laid out, figured out, you can kind of, again, and you don't have to do a visual. I like pretty things. So I like to put like flyers or whatever. Again, it's just an easy visual. Again, I normally, let me go back to that really quick. If I have this already ready to go while I'm recruiting, I have it printed out, whether I'm meeting with the student virtually or in person, I show this to them and I'm like, here, just so you can kind of have an idea of what your classes for our program would look like. Again, it's just a nice visual to have, or even if you have it in a different kind of format. But once you have that set, another big portion of our position, again, is planning your semester activities. And again, I want to kind of restate this is make sure, be mindful of both your time and your students' time. Every time that every semester that I'm planning for my activities, to keep my sanity and my student sanity intact, I really kind of have the goal of 2 to 3 events / activities, whatever, per month. That way, because again, you need to think about how your classes, your campus runs and all that good stuff. But once you kind of figure out the flow, it'll be easier for you to know, okay, how many events a month can I hold? But again, just being mindful of each other's time, especially knowing like if you're part-time or if you're full-time, whatever it may be, if you not only run this program, but another program, being mindful of those things too. So this is just kind of a layout that I put, things that I kind of keep in mind when I'm planning. Obviously, you can tweak and do whatever to fit what your needs are at your campus, but I kind of like to go by this layout. For fall and for every semester, basically, minus summer. For fall and spring, I always hold an orientation before the start of the semester. It's obviously, especially for fall, It's a great way to like kickstart the academic year, get the students together, whether it be virtually or in person, you know, the mingling, the connecting with each other, all that good stuff. And really just reiterating what you maybe already went over with them when you interviewed them, and, you know, kind of rules and expectations, you know, heads up, like show them the workshop schedule, go over those kind of things. For fall, I always, and again, this goes for fall and spring, hold a study skills workshop, or you don't have to, but you know, an idea is to hold a study skills workshop. For fall, like I had mentioned earlier, is when I always host the STEM resume building workshop, STEM resume writing workshop, because again, our applications tend to open up for the summer internships in October. So you want to make sure that that's at least one of the workshops you do hold pretty early on. You know, field trips to universities. I know because of COVID, it kind of threw a wrench into all of our plans for the past couple of years, but I know that a lot of campuses are starting to open up for campus tours. This semester, I was actually super happy and lucky that I was able to go visit 2 universities with my students. I was hoping for more, but I was more than happy to take 2. So again, and it was me just kind of reaching out to the local universities and seeing, hey, like, are you guys open to group tours already? And yeah, I was able to nab some like that. And then industry site visits. That's always a neat one that I know students really appreciate, and again, helps them to see themselves in the careers. But industry site visits, again, calling local engineering companies. You know, if you're kind of stuck and you're not sure, do some research, Google stuff, local engineering companies. If you need ideas, you can connect with us over at, you know, Cheryl, me, anyone, for maybe employer partners that we have around your area. You know, we can share contact information, stuff like that. So that way you can go and see like, hey, are they offering tours? So that's basically what I kind of follow for both the fall and the spring. And then summer, every summer, all summer for everyone, I think is going to be very different. But again, summer, we don't normally, most campuses, but again, it just depends. But some campuses hold a math refresher, some don't in the summer. Some have a bridge program, some don't. Usually, again, we're in the summer, we kind of reserve it for internship opportunities for our students. Or if a student is not doing an internship, it might just be their time to really catch up on maybe a class that they didn't pass or something, or a class that they want to get ahead in for fall. So again, this is just a layout if you'd like to kind of keep in mind when planning your academic semester for activities. Cheryl, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, and no, this is a great list. This is by no means like saying that you have to absolutely stick to this, but it's just to give you some ideas and some context based on like the ebbs and flows of the position and things that you can be thinking about, especially for a lot of us, like as we move into summer, we start planning what our fall semester is going to look like. So this is a great outline of some things that you can be thinking of. Not to mention like growth sector always has a ton of stuff going on as well. So oftentimes maybe not be able to give you a schedule up front, but being able to say like, hey, like we have like this employer partner who's going to be coming on to speak in 3 weeks. So please like save a date and share it with your students. So what you plan, obviously great, but then also being able to use like resources through like growth sector and resources on your campus as well. There's a lot that's already happening on your campus. So don't feel the need to completely have to reinvent the wheel. You can connect with your campus MESA departments, EOPS, engineering departments. What they have going on does not necessarily mean that you can't offer that to your students as well. A perfect example I always used to give is when I was a support specialist, I had a good relationship with the MESA department. So I would oftentimes, like we would set an internal deadline of like July 1, that myself and the coordinator in the MESA department, we would flip-flop our schedules. And I would say like, hey, like these 4 events, can we save 20 seats for STEM course students? And she would do the same thing with our schedule. And now look at that, we've like doubled our offerings for the entire semester. So being able to utilize resources like that, and also noting that just because we know about events happening on our campus doesn't necessarily mean that our students know. They might read your emails, Nicole, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are reading emails from anybody else on campus, right? So making sure that you are sharing that way as well is important.
Exactly. And you already kind of touched upon this, but some things to consider. If you, while you're planning, you're like, man, my brain is just fried. I don't have any ideas for workshops. I don't know what to do. I just started this. This is a little overwhelming. Reach out and connect with other student support specialists. Honestly, that's what we're here for. Like, apart from our students, I think Growth Sector has done an awesome job in really providing us opportunities to connect with each other, whether it be through the coffee breaks or the professional development opportunities. Reach out and, you know, connect with each other. We're, I think, awesome resources as well, right? Some of us may have our fortes in like technology and PowerPoint making, and others may have their forte in connections that they know and whatnot. So, you know, I know that a lot of support specialists are willing to share PowerPoint presentations of workshops for you to use, so you don't have to really reinvent the wheel. You can collaborate on events with other STEM core campuses. I'm going to share a couple flyers next. I have become BFFs over here with Marina over at Ohlone, Carol from San Diego Mesa, Angelique from Palomar. We're all in different parts of California, but we've been able to collaborate on virtual events, and it's been really neat because I personally don't have the greatest contacts or, you know, connections for like guest speakers, but Marina, just FYI, Marina, she has some great connections. I mean, speakers that I'm always like in awe of. Carol over at San Diego Mesa is like our techie person. So she's really good with like the Zoom and all that good stuff. Angelique, she is our like question, like chat maker person. So I'm the more like flyer and marketing person. So we kind of use all of our strengths and collaborate on events, and it just makes life easier. And it, again, one more brains are better than one. So yeah, connect with each other, and don't be afraid to, you know, to reach out. And then as Cheryl had said, keep in mind, apart from the events that you're planning, you know, Growth Sector, we have a lot, I'm sure that we're going to have them again, the employer speaker series events. So keep an eye out for those emails and opportunities. You might say like, okay, well, with all these events, you know, that's way more than 2 or 3 events a month. Totally true. And, you know, with the employer speaker events, because we may not have such an advanced notice to give you, because sometimes they pop out of nowhere and we're like, yeah, let's take this opportunity and, you know, share it. You know, send it to your students anyway. They might find out about a company that they've been eyeing or really want to know about. So they'll make the time to go if they, you know, if they know about it. So just things to consider.
And just noting about the collaboration piece as well, I think one thing that sort of like sparked a lot, well, I know Cami, you're great, and I think you're good about like reaching out to other support specialists, but like we have like the base camp campfire. That's another way to really connect. I just sent out everybody's email addresses, so like that list is available. And I am planning for probably end of summer, early fall, that we'll have another workshop collab session, specifically support specialists, where we're like encouraging collaboration and sort of starting to set up some of those groups and conversations. I think, Myra, that's where that initial group with you, like Angelique, Carol, and Marina had started from. So I think like putting in sessions like that, but also being able to take initiative, like sometimes on your own, to being able to form groups or different groups, or like locally, but not so locally, and giving our students the opportunity to meet with, like, how awesome is it if like students in Colorado can connect with students who are in DC, right? So just being able to create those opportunities for our students, let our students know that the program is more than just our campuses. Like, you're part of like a national network, and it's like something like really big and actually quite cool, right?
Exactly. I just, the middle one is probably a really bad example right there. But again, these are kind of just some like infographics that I create for my students of the activities for the semester. Again, I usually have these done before the semester even begins, at least 2 weeks before the semester begins, as best as possible. Sometimes I have to put like, you know, to be determined, whatever. But again, just so they kind of have it in their brains and they know and can plan accordingly, especially if they have, you know, jobs, life, all that good stuff. Trying to plan out and so that they can see ahead of time. And then I wanted to share here are some of the events that we've done, again, with my collaboration with the other campuses. This one in particular, Women in STEM, and then the networking it. All these contacts were basically marinas, and they were amazing. We had such an awesome event with Women in STEM panel. We had, I think, like over 50 students show up, which was awesome. Again, this speaker right here too, he was from LinkedIn, another great guest speaker, connected through Marina. So again, we all have kind of like our strengths and whatnot that we can play off of. And it's just been really, really fun to collaborate. We've tried to collaborate basically every semester since growth sector kind of started that idea. So it's been neat. So definitely reach out to other support specialists. So another portion of this is getting your tools ready. It could be a lot, I was kind of trying to look at the chat. I hadn't paid attention to it, so my apologies, but I was looking at it right now. And it's a lot, right? From interviewing students to getting like even your application, your questions, the handbook, the consent forms, all that good stuff. It could be a lot. And, the different campuses might have different things that you might need to use, but don't reinvent the wheel. Growth Sector has done an awesome Google Drive where we have, or Cheryl has, basically broken down all the different folders that you could think of with different forms that you can use. Remember, the forms in there, you can download them, you can tweak them, you can add your logos, you can take things out that don't apply to your school, add things that you do apply. Don't reinvent the wheel. We have so many documents that are at your disposal that you can use. So another thing too, that you want to make sure as you are kind of getting your documents ready for your students, connect with campus resources and other support specialists. Again, if you don't find something that you're needing in the Google Drive that we have, connect with each other, see what other people are using. In regards to the documents though, and again, every campus might be different, but I always like to have these things ready before I even start recruiting. Everything from getting like the student application, obviously you need that to recruit, but at the student application, having your interview questions ready, having your student handbook ready, the consent forms, all that good stuff. I try to create packets so that way, a lot of times once I recruit, I interview the student. It might be a little until the start of the fall semester, let's say. During the fall orientation, that's when I hand out like a packet and I give them the student handbook. I give them consent forms. I have them sign it, date it that day, and I collect them. Or if you want to do it online, you can do that too. I usually print out also like a copy of like the activities calendar, a copy of the class schedule. Again, all little kind of things that you might want to think of to have ready to roll. But use definitely your time, especially in the summer, use your time to get your forms or student packets ready for the start of the semester. Again, having it sorted out in packets is, I think, one of the ways that can make your life easier. Or again, if you want to reduce the paper waste, doing it like electronically, having them sign the consent forms or the handbook or whatever. I had to do that for obviously the past 2 years that we've been virtual, because I didn't have a way to get those papers to them. So I did virtual things, and I'm kind of leaning more towards that way for this upcoming year. But there's definitely different ways, but get those things kind of ready to roll for the start of your academic semester. So you're not kind of running around trying to collect all these things when it's already started and students have already kind of have like a full load on them, because then it goes into, they forgot to get this to you or whatever it may be. So kind of trying to plan ahead. Cheryl, did you want to add anything on this one?
Nope, you're good. And I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah, that's right.
And everybody too, like if you have like thoughts or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself if it's something quick.
I will go fast, no worries. Okay, so this is just a quick picture of what the Google Drive looks like. We'll make sure after the workshop to resend this link out so you can have it like kind of fresh in your inbox. Save it, start it, whatever you got to do. But again, it breaks down like all the different things that you can think of, click into those folders. There's different worksheets and forms and all that good stuff that you can download and tweak to your liking or to your campus needs.
And we'll keep adding to this. We have been, I don't really know why it says last modified in 2019. That's like when we started the drive, but we're constantly adding to it. So I would say keep checking. And also if you're willing to share resources as well, you can share with each other. You can always share, send it directly to myself and Myra, and we can like upload to the drive as well, so that it's like shared resources that are continuously fresh and ongoing.
Exactly. Okay. Time, just kidding. Okay, so a couple last words. Getting your tools ready. Still continue with that. As you edit your documents to fit your program, really make sure you think about your program expectations. Everything from attendance or participation requirements for students. I do hear a lot of times, like I'll hear support specialists saying like, man, I held this workshop and I only had like 3 students show up. Or, I held this workshop and I had like, my whole cohort show up. I at my campus make it, so students know right off the bat, even during like before I even interview them, when I'm just giving them information on the program, they know that they only have, for example, 4 absences a semester, and that includes everything from classes to workshops to activities, right? They can only miss 4 times. And even then I'm still keeping track. But they know that at the 4th time, there is a possibility that they can be dropped from the program. It's all about accountability, making sure you set this up at the very, very beginning before the program has even started. I feel like that way, that's the way that I get the most students to show up to the workshops, because they know it is mandatory attendance for them. They know that if they cannot make it because life happens, they might, let's not go there, but there might be an accident, they might get sick, they might be whatever it may be, right? And they miss something. That's life and that's okay. But communicate with me, right? I created a Google number that I've given students. They have been so good. Sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not check that, the student texts me or whatever, but they have gotten so really, really good about checking in with me. They're like, hey, Myra, I'm running like 2 minutes late to supplemental instruction, AKA tutoring. Hey, Myra, I'm not going to be able to show up to this, or hey, Myra, I'll be there, or whatever it may be. So it's just a great way to keep accountability. And that way they know that this is a program, it's serious. Like they have been selected out of however many students, that applied. This program is there for them. But again, making sure that they take it seriously and know that it's a legit, program that is here for them. Providing students with structures and expectations will definitely help them know what is required of them, and just help them to stay on track. And again, accountable, both you to them and them to you. I don't know if you want to add anything on that one, Cheryl.
No, all good. I think, does anybody have any like thoughts or questions? I know I'm trying to be sensitive towards time and like not go on tangents.
If not, you can drop it in the chat too. Okay. So really quickly, also in regards to recruitment, again, I know that I've probably talked about Canva way too much, but I just love Canva because sometimes I don't got the brain juice to think about a layout or whatever. And Canva, you can start it off free. You can get the pro version, whatever you want to do. But even the free version is awesome. They have so many different layouts that you can pick from when creating things, flyers, presentations. This presentation was created via Canva. Social media posts, whatever. Really just do your research on apps that are going to make your life easier. If you're like me, even though I feel like I'm pretty good at Canva now, a lot of times I don't know how to use a lot of the technology. So I YouTube it. Use YouTube. YouTube's a friend too. If you're trying to figure out like, how do I, modify this, or how do I do this? Go check on YouTube. YouTube will be your best friend as well. Also look into contacting resources on your campus to share program information, whether you connect with admissions, the outreach department, counseling, ask for class rosters, conduct outreach to local feeder high schools to do presentations, create social media accounts. That's another way that I post announcements and think, like right now that I'm recruiting, I made a post on our social media account, for people who are interested, come and apply. If you can get your hands on class rosters through like the admissions department, mass email, students that maybe fall into the into the classes that you're specifically targeting. Contact department chairs or professors of the classes. Have them, email their students flyers for your program. Connect with the ASG on your campus. ASG, so the Associated Student Government, kind of like ASB. They're also a great resource. They usually are the ones who run like the enclosed bulletins on campus. So connect with them to get like flyers posted there. Connect with student organizations who can also get the word out about your program. Another word on ASG too is, at least on our campus, they usually have funds to do things, whether it be to host events, to get food for events, to get like swag for your students. So I would highly suggest connecting with the ASG, because again, a lot of times they have a budget that they need to spend within the year or whatever, and they may be able to provide something for an event for you. And then another good one too would be to connect with your engineering department to see if you can promote on like their home webpage, or bulletin boards or whatever. On our campus's engineering page, they have several tabs for their different like certificates and courses and all that good stuff, but they created a tab for my STEM core program. And so I have a link to the application. I have an explanation of our program and stuff, my email, all that good stuff. So connect with them and see if they can post for you, or you can post on their website to really just recruit. Let me see. This was kind of just an ad lib. Cheryl, did you want to add anything?
No, this is a lot of stuff that you sort of like covered. And I know for a lot of you, this isn't like new information, but definitely good to like see what other people are doing, or even just like refreshing your mind. Like Cami, thank you so much for noting about student testimonials via Canva. Didn't know that, but just took note that I'm going to do that this summer. But we're constantly learning from each other. So this is really helpful.
Exactly. And a couple more things on recruitment. Get creative and try things out, whether it's creating marketing material or navigating social media. Really kind of push your, I know we always kind of tell our students, push yourself out of your comfort zone. Honestly, I say that to support specialists as well. We need to try to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. If maybe you're not like, oh, I'm not really creative, or, oh, I'm not that great with like technology, push yourself to kind of, like I said, learn new things, watch YouTube videos on tutorials and different stuff. Check out other schools' material, marketing material, and get ideas from them. And always remember, like, if it doesn't work the first time around, you just, in the words of Aaliyah, dust yourself off and try again, try again. Every semester is a new chance to try. If, maybe some of the methods that you were trying for outreach did not get you as many hits as you needed, revamp it, remodify it, whatever you got to do, refine it, reevaluate the methods that you use, and just try something new. It doesn't hurt. And I think that's the neat part of this job, is that we can constantly kind of be improving and really thinking of ways to go about this. So don't worry. And last thing about continued membership, so that way if we have any questions, I'm so sorry, we're already a minute over. We just love to talk here. But for continued membership, in regards to students who have already completed their end of their first STEM core year, what I ended up doing is, because again, I'm already like starting cohort 11. So I've had a couple students who like to come back, and I am all about that. But create expectations for the end of their first year. What I tell our students is, if you would like to be part of this program and continue to, benefit and all that good stuff from the really neat opportunities that we have, I need a couple things from you. I still require my student to conduct check-ins with me. So at least once a semester, check in with me. So I'll reach out to them to schedule a one-on-one. I do require my students to attend at least 1 to 2 events. Oops, sorry, have a typo there. At least 1 to 2 events a semester. Again, because sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I obviously repeat some workshops that I need to have with every cohort. So they don't need to attend those if they already did, but so at least attend 1 to 2 events a semester. And then I always have them, again, recheck in, don't fall off the face of the earth. If you have an academic counselor with your program, check in with them, that type stuff. Try to do this before the semester is over, because that way they know what to expect for next year. And just reassure them that this program is still here for them. Like, we are not going anywhere as long as you stay involved and stay connected with us. Like, we're here for you. So that's kind of the last thing on that. And here's a little visual that I created. Sorry, go for it, Cheryl.
Right. I was going to say, just remind them that they're still eligible, like they're still a part of the program after like their initial year in the program. They can still apply for internships and all that stuff, but we need to we're encouraging you to define like what their second year in the program looks like student A, who is in their second year and stays very involved and meets with you still regularly, versus student B, who left this semester and then we didn't hear from them until the application period for internships next year, right? So just figuring out what standard you're going to hold students to in terms of expectations for participation in year 2.
Exactly. So I have now finished. I've come to an end. I know it's a lot of talking. My apologies. But any questions? I know we're already over 3 minutes, but if any of you still have time and would like to still write to us or ask questions, we're definitely still here, or I'm still here.
Huge thank you, Myra. I mean, I think a lot of us like have been in this role, know this position really well, but that was all still like excellent information. I will be sharing the slide deck that Myra went over, and a lot of those links that we were referring to throughout today's presentation, just so it's like fresh in your inbox, but then new resources as well. And I encourage you all, please, if you have materials that you're willing to share. I'm no longer a support specialist, so I am not currently developing as many materials as I used to. So if you're willing to share with the group, feel free to send it to myself and Myra, and we will upload it directly to the Google Drive, just so we all constantly have like new things to share. Upload to the Basecamp group. Please reach out to us with ideas for future workshops, but we know it's summer coming, so everyone's hours are going to look different. So recognizing that as well. But thank you all so much for your time, and good luck for the remainder of your semesters, quarters, as you're wrapping up with your students.
Love it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you.
Have a good summer.